Time to get real, reality TV aficionados. Welcome to the Georgio Says podcast. I'm your host, the one and only Georgio Takanakis, and I'm here serving you the juiciest updates on all your favorite reality shows weekly, as well as the hottest pop culture trends, and even exclusive interviews that will leave you wanting more. This podcast will keep you on the edge of your seat. We definitely need to talk about this. The Georgio Says podcast starts now.
All right, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Georgio Says the podcast. And obviously, as you can see, I have a very special guest joining me on today's episode. We're going to be breaking down Real Housewives of Salt Lake City's premiere, and we're also going to be touching on 90 Day Resort because you're going to be our 90-day expert. If you guys don't know, if you've not listened, I've talked about it before, but Jeff loves 90 Day. So between the both of us, we have a lot of reality TV covered. But there's one franchise in particular that we've been watching called 90 Day Resort. So Jeff's going to kind of fill us in on what's been going on because these are shorter episodes. They're 43 minutes and they're just specific couples that are there to work on their relationship. So what's been going on?
Well, first, it's The Last Resort.
The Last
90 Day,
Resort.
Last Resort, not just 90
Sorry,
Day
TLC.
Resort. Well, a lot's been going on. It's episode 3. I love this franchise spinoff of whatever because it has couples from the whole series and the different like franchises, like before the 90 days, the other way, regular 90 days. So you get a lot of kind of one-on-one time with the different couples, which is good. But you don't really get that in the regular season.
Yeah.
Because it's all about just like their whole immigration, building their relationship journey. Now all these people have relationships that apparently they're at their last resort. So
yeah. Well,
yeah.
It's interesting because Ed is on it with, what's her name? I always forget her name.
Liz.
Which I was confused why they were trying to work things out based on the last reunion.
They're awful together.
It just doesn't seem like they really want to be in the relationship. I feel like they're in it out of comfort and maybe because they're on the show.
Neither of them are comfortable with each other.
I don't even think they're attracted to each other. Well, maybe Ed's attracted to Liz,
so this last episode, they dove into their sex lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, well, it's funny. I mean, Liz and Ed especially, because Liz is just so fed up with all of Ed's juvenile behavior and lack of maturity about anything. So, I mean, you know, it's not nice to be not nice, but she's been kind of, this episode, she really just took some very obvious digs at him, which, you know, good for her for like not going to that level like before, because I mean, none of us are perfect, but there's a lot to say about him. But like, you know, they were talking about their sex life and she was like, yeah, I mean, it used to be good, but basically now he needs to take breaks, not for sexual stamina reasons, but because of like respiratory, like
he's out of breath.
He's out of breath after a few minutes or so, which is kind of like, okay, like, you know.
I mean, I think
it's true. She's there, like she's saying, like they're in group therapy. They're there to be honest and truthful. It's like, but I mean, good. I think he deserves it because he's been an absolute jackal
he's treated her
time. He's treated everybody horribly.
I know, but specifically Liz, he's disrespect. Like that's why I'm confused why she's even here with him.
I don't know why. Because it's like the age difference is like the least of my concerns with their relationship. It's just the fact that he treats her like trash garbage.
He really thinks he's hot shit. I really think he does.
I don't get it. Like, especially like in their case, like she could do just so much better. And frankly, she needs to, you know, like the last season, whatever they were on, you know, we got a little glimpse of her situation, like her background situation towards the end when they were at that engagement party that they like canceled in the middle of it. And then she went and threw her ring in the bushes or something because Ed thought she had dated a woman, which I'm not sure why that caused all that. But like, she has a daughter. I think she's been kind of, she's had it sounds like she had a challenging earlier part of her life. I mean, she's not that, I mean, she's still young anyways, like she's in her like early or mid 30s, but
Yeah.
it seemed like, you know, that it seemed like her late teens, early 20s, she was
She had
having,
some learning.
yeah, she was finding her way a bit, and she has stability or had stability with that restaurant gig that she had where the owner wanted to make her partner, but now she's instead deciding to invest her energy in moving to Arkansas with Ed, which I don't really understand. Like, you couldn't even make it through. Sorry, this is not the last one, right? This is like last season. It's like you couldn't even make it through your own engagement party. So like, why?
But it should have
Why are you guys
ended.
uprooting your whole life in San Diego and moving to Arkansas because that's where Ed is gonna be a better person with like all this family that they don't have the
Oh.
best relationship with either. So yeah, I don't know. I think they just need. That I hope that by the end of it, Liz decides to choose better for herself. I really do. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to wish breakups on anybody, but I do think that she needs to do a lot.
I would pay a GoFundMe if that meant she was leaving Ed. I don't think she needs to be with him. I think she has enough going on now that she's been
Yeah.
on the show.
Yeah.
I think they could
Yeah.
totally put her in and have her find love outside of Ed. I don't think she
Yeah.
needs Ed to sustain herself. I
Nope.
get maybe in the beginning for her, she needed it maybe because she has a daughter and he has the means to provide. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he
But
seems
he's
like
never even talked about
does he
playing
even
any
spend
sort of
time with
role
her kid?
in
Like, do they
her
don't talk
daughter's.
about her daughter really on the show? Probably
We
for
didn't know. I didn't know she had a daughter until the end of last season.
probably
And she
because
had
she's
been
not
on a
allowed to
couple
talk about it
seasons.
as much.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
But I just wonder, does he play a role in her daughter's life in any way, or is this just
I don't think
like a
so.
separate rendezvous?
No, he's
Anyways,
a complete narcissist. I don't know if he can play a actual role in anybody's life besides his own.
or his dogs. He seems to care a lot
Yeah.
about his dogs. Well,
Yeah.
Angela's back with Michael,
Michael.
but he's not there.
Yeah, I'm over this
I'm
whole
tired
like
of the iPad.
phone a husband thing. Like it's fine at the reunions, I guess. But like I mean, like I was saying the other night, like both with Ed and Angela, it just shows that they must have some really kick-ass ratings if they're going to bring Ed back onto the 90-day concept show, but he's not even dating. He's dating another American woman from his town at this
Yeah.
point. Yes, he got on it because he was originally involved with that Filipino woman that didn't work out, right? So that's his presence, but it's like they're not 90 daying anymore. And like
Mhm.
Angela and Michael, like it's like you're not together. So like they need to go back on like they need to just go back on regular 90 days so we can keep following their journey. But like this is another I don't know why I don't know why she hasn't divorced him yet. He's cheated on her and it's been like they've been married for 3 years now, I think, and they're not in
Mhm.
the same country and it doesn't look like that's happening anytime soon. So what is the point? Like
I
she lives in Georgia. She could find someone.
Anybody. I don't know. I just feel like there's something around his case where it's preventing him from being able to come over, even just to film this last resort.
Irrespective of his case, so while that case has been getting sorted out, like did he actually for real cheat on her? Or did he just have
He
a
was having a in a well, they
was he
don't
having
know.
basically just having like an emotional affair? Or he
They
was
could
telling that
only
girl but he gave that girl money,
well,
right?
yes, because she found a voicemail. Someone sent her a voicemail of him leaving a message. It wasn't clear. They couldn't confirm if it was
So they was
physical, but they assumed it was
communicating
physical because of the amount of time he was spending
because she's
with this
there.
woman, and the things that he said
Yeah.
also made it seem like they had a physical
Yeah, he was saying,
relationship.
"I
He's
love you,
like,
baby,"
yeah,
and,
like,
like
don't worry, I'm gonna get things sorted out soon. That's a
so,
red
like,
flag for me. But she knew that.
that says enough about his case overall, like, US immigration aside, his case is that there's no need. And what what does she think is gonna happen when he gets here? He's not gonna be able to work for a year. He's already kind of scammy. So like like she's gonna move him into that house that she has where she's like also housing her daughters and like several grandchildren. Like is that gonna work out? I don't
But
what
what
is
would
he
he
gonna
do here?
do?
I mean, like for work, I mean, like what she doesn't live in an area that seems like it's like hustle bustle. It's more
What does he
like
do there?
he hustles, but like it's not the same hustle as it would be here. He would be like he would be
Yeah,
stranded essentially. He's not going to be able to
I
get
don't know what
anything
he's
done.
gonna do.
Yara and Jovi are back. I like them. I have to say
Yeah,
they're probably
no.
the most normal couple in the 90 day in terms of like their issues aren't really like uh, they're not abnormal to like a normal relationship, I would say.
No, because they have the other variables not working against them like a lot of the other couples do. Like, there's not a language barrier, there's not a big age difference.
Mhm.
Their families generally don't hate each other, or there's not some sort of like family
Yeah.
tension. I mean, like they had, I mean, all the stuff they went through with like like that's frankly normal. Like,
Well, that was
you
her
know,
adjusting too. She had just moved and she was
right,
kind of forced into
right.
like this new family setting. But I mean, overall, I think they both know the assignment for the TV and they know that I think they separately are good outside of the show. I think they
Yeah,
understand
I
that the
think
show
so.
propels them financially. And so they have to keep up some of this. Like, I found that I did question the whole birth control thing because I even asked you, I was like, I'm not sure how serious that would be if like maybe you guys let us know in the comments because I don't know if you're a married woman and that happens, is that the biggest betrayal? Is that like not telling your husband you're on birth control when he wants to have another? I don't know. I mean, I obviously know that that's wrong, but what level of wrong is it? Because he was very upset, like almost as if like she had slept with someone else. Almost that was his reaction in terms of the betrayal. I mean, I know a lie is a
Yeah,
lie, but I just
I
don't think.
mean, well, sure. I mean, yeah, it's a big thing to well, there's a couple things to it. One, at the beginning of the season, right? One, like when they were doing like intros with him or them, right?
Yeah.
Like like the first thing he said was like sharing my feelings in a group setting is very uncomfortable for me. It's like I don't even like doing it in a closed setting. I like struggle with that. So like I'm not sure how well I'm going to be able to, air all of my dirty laundry in front of these other people and these like therapists that I
Yeah, yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Which okay, fine, like that's your that's your journey, that's your challenge, but you also willingly decided to come on a televised show where you'd be in group therapy. So that was just for me like, okay, you're gonna, put your big boy panties on and like get through it. So, but I do understand like when when you say that, like you're probably sort of saying like maybe what might be, you know, quote unquote normal, or you may not have an issue airing like a normal problem that might be harder for me. But then she went ahead and like disclosed something that kind of relates to their intimacy, their communication. There's the whole kind of, you know, there's the female bodily rights kind of
Yeah, yeah,
thing on
that's where
it.
I
And
get hung up.
so, like, I think his overall reaction is not solely just about the issue of like her being dishonest about using birth control when he's been like really wanting to have a baby and like
Mhm.
they thought they I think it's you just combine all of those things together. It's like a bunch of fives, but like when you put them all together, it makes it like a 10 sort of issue, right? Like I wasn't really expecting like that whole thing. I already didn't want my laundry aired in front of all these people. Like this was a communication breakdown, but like I also thought too, like the way it was sort of presented in the group and how she had this big secret that she'd been hiding, it kind of created the narrative that like she had no other choice but to like be on birth control in secret because like Jovi was just trying to make a baby making machine out of her and like almost as if it was like getting a little like non-consensual. And I was like, I don't really think that's the case. He clearly wants to have another kid, but as far as I can tell, he's just been verbally persistent with that. I don't think he's the type of person that would be like, you know, poking holes in his
No, 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 no,
condoms and
no.
like,
But
or trying to be
I can
like,
imagine.
come on, like
I
do
can
it, you
imagine if
know?
she has vehemently said, "I'm not ready for a second child," and let's just be honest, or not using protection. So in her mind, one oops
Right,
will land them
right.
back in the water she is not ready to be in yet. So I understand from that perspective, she's got to protect herself because accidents happen, not because he would do it on purpose, but that can happen in the
Yeah,
moment. And so
yeah.
she doesn't want to risk that, probably because she's also trying to stabilize herself before she gets sucked into having another baby. Because quite frankly, he wasn't around for the first one. At least it
Right.
didn't seem like it. He was traveling a lot and she was alone.
Yeah,
So
I mean, no, like, yeah. Is it something they should have discussed that she shouldn't have hidden? Sure. I think like the bigger issue is why did she feel like she had to? And if the reasons why she felt like she had to, is that accurate with like what, like, did she feel like she had to? Were the reasons existent for why she felt like she had to? Right. Like that's the thing. Because it's like, right. The way she was saying it makes it sound like, he was forcing her to like
she was being
consent
pushed
to
on her.
being
Yeah,
impregnated
yeah.
by
That's how I
him,
felt for
right?
her.
But it doesn't seem like that because she's a strong enough woman that like if that were the case, if he was like being sexually forceful and saying like, no, I am gonna have this baby or have a baby with you, like that would be a whole that wouldn't even be a birth control issue. That would be a
Yeah,
get the fuck off of
that's a
me
different issue
and
of
like let's
like
talk about
yeah, yeah,
how
yeah. I
that's a
think this is
no.
just a thing of him wanting to ensure that he, in his mind, checks the boxes of having kids before a certain age, which
Yeah,
I understand that part when he said, I don't want to be 40 and then like start over because I get it. Like,
yeah,
we're at that
yeah.
age, we don't have kids, but I can't imagine a baby right now. That would be exhausting to even
No.
think about. But I don't really know. There's nobody else on there. Who
I
else?
don't
Oh, well, what's the other the Kalani and
Yeah, their stuff is
that
heavy. I
I
mean,
can't
like,
even
I'm
unpack
interested
there.
in it, but, like, they're the ones I need to be here the most.
They
Like,
need to go on a set like
they
alone.
need a spin-off or something.
They should have just gone by
I'm like,
themselves.
I also don't understand why they had to bring their kids and her sister. Like, I'm fine with the sister because there's storyline there because she's been on the show for a while too, and, like, I kinda like how she just
She's like a voice of reason for her sister
or just a
or
shit
bitchy. Like,
talker
yeah,
of
yeah.
Asuelo, which is fine because he's been kind of a dick, but, like, I mean I kind of for them, I'm like, okay, you guys gotta like get over it or not, because like,
Well, not now. They just gave each other a pass and she took it all the way.
yeah, but I mean, she's like still having like a full on like emotional relationship with this dude too. Like I was saying last night, I was like, oh wow, like Kalani, wow, that's real big of you to block your boyfriend while you're at group therapy with your husband.
She didn't
Like
block her.
that's a bit like we're trying to she's trying to make it like I'm taking a big step here, guys. Like I'm really committing to this by like commit like whatever. I'm like
I just don't think I would want my kids to see that play
I
out.
just think it's
I don't
just
think that
weird.
that's
It's just
something
a
I would want.
warped situation that's like if you had your hall pass and you either formed this emotional connection with this person or because she had only been with Asuela before,
Yeah.
she realized through that experience that doesn't she's not no longer satisfied with having only him in her as her sexual life, then that means your marriage is over and you need to move on. I don't understand why she's still here trying to work it out with Asuelu knowingly while he also knows that she's continuing to have a open dialogue of I would assume pretty emotional conversation with this dude knowing that that's not what as far as I can tell Asuelu is not looking to have a open relationship or have
No. I think
have
he
his
just had a
what
he
so
clearly made a
like that's clearly
mistake and
not
felt
what he's
like
doing so like but yeah
well,
like
we
that's
don't
not on the
know.
no we
He plays
don't
dumb
but
a
he
lot,
hasn't
but
said
you know.
that like
Clearly she's paying him back.
yeah it just seems
It's just not
weird
worth it.
though
And you're
like
putting your kids in the middle of
then
it.
she should actually like separate from him,
Yeah.
even if it's not legally. Like they should take like
Take a
a
6-month break
full-on
or
break, and
work
then
on it
she
from
can
afar.
go have her rebound test relationship, and like if
Then just get divorced.
but that's what I'm
There's
saying.
no
But
coming
like,
back.
if she's not sure what she wants to do, then like she should go have that time and then see if it's gonna move forward, and then separate and divorce or whatever. But like, this is weird. Like, I don't get it.
I don't
Get
either.
what they're trying to do.
The last couple, I don't really know too much about them, so I'm not as invested only because I still don't really understand
I
what
don't
the
understand what their issue is. And then there another
is.
one too. It's like they're not in a 90-day situation anymore. They're both Americans.
Yeah, because
So
he was like a New York cop or something, she said, and he retired and then moved.
yeah, I'm
I
not
don't remember what he
sure.
was.
I think she was like season 1 or something before we started
I
watching,
think
but like I don't really get it. I don't really find them to be too interesting. And then who else? We have
that was all of them.
Kalani Asuelu, Jovi and Yara,
Michael
Michael and Michelle,
Angela,
Angela, those two other
Liz and Ed.
Liz and oh, that's right, Liz and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like it.
I do too.
I
I like
like
the
it. I
episodes
think
are a
it's
little
great.
shorter. It makes it a little bit easier to digest. Sometimes the hour and 40-minute episodes a lot.
Yeah,
I
no, it's a
appreciate the
lot.
storyline because sometimes we don't get to see a lot of storyline. But
Yeah.
that's 90 Day, guys. I haven't really recapped it on here, but Jeff watches it a lot, and I think I watch it with him, but I don't obviously recap it for you guys. But I figured this is a good segue to have at least once a week conversation around 90 Day because a lot of you guys do watch it.
Yeah.
But we still have to recap season 4 of Salt Lake City. I have been waiting for this season for a long time. I know a lot of people were waiting, side-eyeing, trying to figure out if this is going to be another situation with Heather and the black eye and no answers. But I feel like this season is going to be good. I just feel like it's going to put them on the map. It's going to get people to start watching. Now that Jen's gone, I feel like there's room for everyone to kind of show who they are and not have to focus everything around what Jen is or isn't doing. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to discuss Real Housewives of Salt Lake City season 4 premiere. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Ever dreamt of dining under the stars with Darth Vader or having a magical Hogwarts feast? Well, now you can with Fork Yeah. They're located just next to Disney World, and this private chef and catering service is more than just great food. Every meal is a themed experience from Disney classics to Harry Potter, Star Wars, and even Barbie the movie. Led by expert chef Mia, Fork Yeah combines fresh, locally sourced ingredients with endless creativity. Make your next gathering unforgettable. And guess what? For our listeners, you'll receive 15% off your bookings from now until November when you mention my name, Georgio Takanakis, at eatforkyeah.com. So head on over to eatforkyeah.com and book yourself an experience with amazing food that you and your guests will never forget. And don't forget to mention my name, Georgio Takanakis, when you book for 15% off. All right, welcome back, friends. Thanks for sticking around. So we are at the point of the episode. We've got to discuss what we're here for, which is Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. It premiered last night. And I have Jeff with me recapping. He has watched the episode. We have watched it separately, actually, because I wanted to see what we take from it separately. We usually watch the shows together. So I'm going to start at the very beginning. We need to talk about the first 2 minutes because it's very dramatic and very religious. It almost felt like Mob Wives, but Mormon Wives. It was like a very, like the part where they're like walking and then the sequences of who they're going to feud with. Like that whole.
It's me very like escaping. I'll say Amish, not the other show, polygamy, because it's not, they're not polygamous, but it gives me that much.
Yeah.
Very escaping. Yeah. That.
So very dramatic. We do have a new housewife, Monica, who is joining the cast, and also Angie, who was a friend of the show, is now full-time. So she's got her snowflake. And Angie is a friend to the podcast. She's our Greek sister here. So shout out to Angie. But yes, we have got a lot to discuss. They jumped right in, which I appreciate. I was really hopeful that they would, because sometimes they try to drag the episode 1 out and try to get us reacclimated to all the women. I could care less. I just want to get right to it. So we start off with baby gorgeous getting ready for yet another Sundance. She is the Sundance queen, apparently. She's done this for 15 years and she's very frantic, but she's getting the job done. And then her hubby comes to pick her up and she is just business. She's ranting on. And the edit is hilarious because she's like in the middle of something serious and then you hear her phone bing, bing, bing. And she's like, hold on. And then her husband's just driving them around. But we do find out that she's very upset because apparently her son has decided he's not going to do the college thing. And so he's instead is going to do a mission, which I believe is a 2 to 3 year commitment, and she's not going to have access to him. But I think the kicker is she's upset, I think, because it's clear that there's a disconnect between what the son thinks his life should be and what he thinks his parents think his life should be. And we did see this last season where she kind of had a conversation around college because he said, I don't want to do college. And she was like, no, you're doing college. And he, I guess, is not doing college. He's going to go spread the word of the Lord. What do you think?
Yeah, I have a lot of notes actually on everyone. So
Jeff took a lot of notes.
So yeah.
First of all, hold on 1 second. Guys, I don't do this at all. And actually, Besties by Bravo would love to have him on. She does this too. I don't do this. I keep it all up here. But look how cute. Wait, let me see if I can get you guys to see. Do you see? He even bolded the names. I don't do this.
So yes, that opening scene with the like I wrote because this is how I felt. It's like, wow, Lisa's so busy. Like it's so too much, right? Like he's driving around, you're like, oh my god, I'm like, I'm missing my kids because we need to be together. Like they're probably at the hotel, right? Like when she's like putting up finishing touches on her big Sundance party, that's essentially like a function room at a restaurant rented out. Like it's not.
Well, I mean,
too much. So it was like, wow, that's a lot of manufactured busyness. Two, like I was also like in that whole thing too when she was like, me and Jack got into it and like whatever. I thought that was a little bit much of a stretch on the whole like failed parenting shtick she was giving us. Like maybe I don't know my son as well as I thought. He told me what's going on. Like I was like, all right, like how is that any different from any kid saying that they don't want to do the thing that their parent has been like shoving down their throat for the past whatever? It's not that big of a deal. It's a big deal to them because they're younger, and but it's like she was giving me this whole like, I'm just so disconnect. I'm so not in touch with my kids, and I feel like, nah, no, whatever, shut up. Like that was whatever.
I see that a little bit. I think too, though, for her, it's a disconnect because I think in her mind she thought, well, why did he hold this information? Like, it's not. I think her thing was like, I
did
never
he hold
kept
it,
him.
or did she not hear it? Because, like you said, last season they were out in the basketball court, and he was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go to college right away. I already have a business. I'd like to like. I have that, and I could also keep learning more about that. And she was like, no, you're going because you're not going to be one of those kids that just gets a business from their parents and just doesn't have to do anything, which is like, well, you've already created half of that narrative already. So like this whole making him go to college is just to like spin this around. So like he doesn't look like that.
He just got handed a business.
Right.
Yeah, of course. Of course. It's optics too.
But also like the irrespective of this like shock, like my also question is like when she was like, well, I was just like surprised about the issue, and she was like, he decided he's going on a mission, which I also like, are you guys even like for real Mormon though? You own a liquor company, and
I don't think you have to be Mormon to go on a mission, because like I think
anybody can go on missions.
It's like a missionary like situation where you
but it's usually associated with specific churches.
Yeah, but I don't think Lisa is.
Yeah, no, they weren't.
I'm pretty sure they're not Mormon, but I think her point was she was confused because he was hiding the fact that he would rather go do a mission. And that I think made her feel like, well, but I never kept him from Christ, or I always raised him in that way. So I understand a little bit why she was taken aback, because it's not like he said, I don't want to go to college. I want to go start a band. And that is where the disconnect was. I think for her, she was like, why are you
I
making
think
it seem
he
like I
just
would have
didn't
said no to
want to.
that?
I think it was clear he didn't want to go into a structured educational experience,
Yeah.
and he floated the idea of like, maybe I just don't. Maybe I can take a gap year, and she was like, absolutely not. So I don't know. I've never met the kid. I don't know how devout he is or feels to be or has become, but like a mission is also, I mean, that's a
Is that a break?
pretty, I don't know if it's a break, but it's a pretty strategic negotiating point. If he's trying to get out of going to college and he's not going to be permitted to take a gap year. If he's like, okay, well, I'll do this mission, which also fulfills my objective of not going to college right
Mm-hmm.
now. And I'm not going on a mission to go like experiment with drugs. I'm going to spread the Lord, the word of the Lord,
Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
can't
Can't argue with
can't
that.
argue with that. And if Lisa says that they are such a not devout, but they're such a
They're believers. Yeah.
they're such a strong believers of the Christian faith, and that she could think of no other more noble act than to take 2 years of your life to go spread. Like she can't argue with that
No,
either. So
no.
like
Which I'm
that's
sure
why
he,
I'm
I
like
mean, that makes
that's
a
why I
lot of
also
sense,
don't kind of
actually.
believe that like I had no idea like this is such a secret that he had this yearning inside of him to go spread God's word. And it's like, well, is that so? Even if it was a surprise, is it so shocking? I mean, it's not like he is a atheist, or it's not like it's not outside like burning stuff all the time and being like all dark. He's just probably a
No, I think,
normal kid that's been raised Christian, like lots of other
and I'm sure that
white
like
kids. You know,
if
like
if he
I just think
decides
it's
he doesn't want to
overdone.
do it, he can stop at some point and come back. I mean, things can change. I also think this is a good segue from last season for Lisa to tie the loop with the son storyline because you know we did talk about this a little bit. He had mentioned last season he didn't see the need in going to college, and maybe it's just not for him because, as we know, it's not for everybody. Um, but then we catch up with Heather. Heather's bought a new house. So the book
Hmm.
sales were good.
Hmm.
The book sales were good. 7,900 square foot home,
6 bedrooms, something like that. Yeah. Even my
beautiful
dad said,
house.
"Wow, it's big."
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
big. It was beautiful, gorgeous house. Heather looks great. I have to say, I think the ladies really pulled it together this season for the interview look so far. They look amazing. But Heather is shoveling her
She's looking
front.
trim, if I do say so.
Yeah, she's looking
Looking
good.
trim. Yeah.
She's looking even Mary mentioned that later in the episode. But Meredith stops by Heather's house to catch up with her and Heather's shoveling her little walkway and they go inside and I guess Heather and Whitney are still not in a good place because Heather lets us know that just the day before she met up with Whitney after not seeing her probably since girls trip because I think they filmed that right after they filmed the finale for Salt Lake. So they probably stopped talking after that. So it
I
probably was a
remember
good
they had
amount
a
of time.
sit down last year towards the end of the season on her deck, right? When they were like, "We don't," where they went. Yeah,
That was on Ultimate Girls Trip.
was it?
That's the one that
Oh,
Candace was on with
I
Leah
remember them
Black.
being in
Not Leah
coats
Black.
though. Maybe I'm
They
misremembering.
did have a conversation last season
That's what I was
where they
saying.
were gonna be good,
But
which
they
is
weren't like
no.
officially like they were like we should be good, but neither of us actually want to, right? Like neither of us.
We don't trust each other,
Right,
so
right.
it's
Like
not
they weren't
happening.
actually willing to move it forward. They
And
were like, we
honestly,
should.
guys, it didn't really seem like it moved that much further forward because looking at their conversation, I know Heather seems to think it went more positively than she thought it would, but it still sounded like they don't know where they're going from here. So that's unsettling because I whatever happened, I think this was personal and personal became camera time. And I think that is where everything here went wrong. So this is why I think they can't trust each other. I think they both threw each other under the bus and maybe there was things said on camera that they didn't want disclosed or narratives put out there. Whatever the issue is, Heather is optimistic. She wants a fresh start with all the ladies. So that's great. But Meredith is not feeling Whitney and all the things that she's been saying about her in her bathwater in the press. Which I was, at first, I was like, wait, is she really mad about this? Or is she like, no, she's mad. She was very upset about the insinuation of what Whitney was saying. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Meredith, like when she was first telling the story, I mean, she summed it up by saying, "Don't go after my bathtub." Like, like I wrote that in quotes. Yeah, like, don't. Who do you think you are? Don't go after my bath. I don't really understand. Like, I don't really understand it. I don't understand why she's so upset about it because it's just I don't know. Like, it's just Whitney. She kind of just always says a lot of like silly, shady, dumb shit. But I don't really ever think I don't ever feel any malice from Whitney.
I don't
Like
either.
if
Yeah.
she is gunning, she's just defending herself. She's coming back at somebody that's like took a dig at her. I mean, I can understand where Meredith is coming from. If you read that, if you just read it literally, right, with no context, and it's just this frankly coworker of yours that's saying you're disgusting for taking a bath with your husband, yeah, like that's problematic. Again, especially since yeah, like she's experienced being in physically vulnerable scenes, but I don't know if it's like enough to like hold this grudge against her so hard for it. Yeah, like because again, it's not like she didn't even really like make a big deal out of it either. It wasn't even like the main point of like the scene. But I don't know why Whitney like said all that. Like, were they having an issue at the end of last season? Like, was
No,
there
I think
like
that's why Meredith was
unresolved
no,
stuff
that's why
between them?
Meredith, I think,
Like,
was confused and taken aback because I don't, they didn't have anything serious. Even at the reunion, they left in a neutral space. So I think the interview, although Whitney was probably just trying to be funny and shady, I think what Meredith took from it was that
wait, was it an interview? I thought it was a tweet.
no, she did an interview with like Page Six or something at some point
Oh,
and referenced
oh,
the
that's
scene. So it made, I think what it read across to Meredith was that she was insinuating that Meredith was dirty because of the way that she was talking about how like the bathwater and the both of them being in it and the DNA and the
but that
exchange.
is a very common.
I mean, it's not wrong. You're
No,
not.
I'm
I
saying
mean,
like I've
I don't
talked
know.
to people before that like say the same. Like I like one of my friends like in general she doesn't like baths or the concept of it 'cause it's like some
A lot
people
of
feel
people
like
don't
yeah you're just like
sitting in your dirt.
yeah you're
Yeah.
sitting around and soaking in your own filth like I get it and if that's actually what she was saying in an interview where you're just bantering as opposed to like you put a tweet out there about somebody you're whether you say you're not right you're intending for that person to see it and you're
Yeah.
kind of stamping it up but if she's just like answering an interview question, what did you think about that scene? And you're like, oh, it's not for me. I don't like bathing with people because it's too much like whatever. It's like the same thing with people that like some people don't like I don't like to share toothbrushes with people, but some people doesn't there are people that don't mind it. Not intentionally sharing toothbrushes, but like people will be like if you go on away or something, you forget your toothbrush and your partner or whatever. Like people do use each other's toothbrushes. It's not. I don't know a lot of people do, but it's not like it's like that. I think like it's just kind of like how some people are like I used to not be. I used to have a thing with like shoes for the longest time. I never would wear anybody else's shoes, or I would never like borrow someone's shoes because I thought it was like weird and gross to like have your feet in like someone else's feet things and eventually got over it. But it was like one of those like weird hangups. I think that's probably what she was just saying. Like I wouldn't take a bath with somebody. That too,
I
that's
mean,
fine. But like,
that's
was
the
that the
point.
worst?
I
She
didn't
didn't
think it
say
was
like
worse.
Meredith was nasty or her husband was nasty or her
No, I
house
think
was nasty.
I
Like,
think
but then I
Meredith,
did love when first of all that whole scene where they were like at the bar and like that like
What are you
when
talking about? Heather's about?
Heather and
Oh,
Whitney were like
when they had their
awkwardly
little
joking, and then like Heather got awkward, and then like Meredith just used that awkward silence to just like go in. I was like, this is also weird. And then like Heather just sulked away. But like I did appreciate how like after that when like Meredith was like, it's like you were insinuating I have like a dirty house or whatever. And like in Whitney's interview, she's like, I wasn't insinuating anything about her. I don't even know where she lives. I don't even know what rental house she's living in. And then popped up like the bingo card of
Yeah,
like
the
2021,
editors.
2022, 20. I was like, oh,
The
like
editors are so shady.
but I liked it. She was being shady myself. Like, I don't even know what rental house she's living in, whether or not it's dirty or not.
that's why I love it, because it's like they came in guns a blazing, but not too much. But
Mhm.
so we get past that, but then we finally meet up with Angie K,
Yeah.
who's now got her snowflake, and she is ready for, I don't know if this was her first scene, but she was dressed for like, I don't know where she was going, because the restaurant didn't seem like the type of place that you would
That's an all hot pink. Hot pink.
But she came in hot, hot, hot. And then we meet Monica, who is the new housewife. And Lisa Barlow, baby gorgeous, joins them. And this is where I think things are going to start to get really interesting between these three specifically, because I have a feeling that Monica knows a lot of information about all of these women through Jen, clearly.
No,
and
she said as much.
no,
Yeah.
she did,
Yeah.
but it's just the way in which they're inching towards this relationship between Lisa and Monica was interesting, because it's like, what is it that Jen said about that marriage, that her talking about going away on their 20th anniversary to some sick house in Europe has Monica being like, because it's like weird, because it's like, she's like, well, all they're doing is making it sound like everything's great and everything's amazing. And they keep flashing to Lisa just boasting about, oh, the house is sick, you would love it in 20 years. And it's like, then they're flashing to Monica, and she's in her interview being like,
maybe she spilled something on one of the times where she said she had to like babysit Lisa on the phone talking for hours and hours and hours because Jen didn't
that
want
was
to talk.
hilarious. I was like, oh my God, that's embarrassing to like, if you were like, not embarrassing, but like crazy to think that she.
But it's fitting for Lisa. She does kind of just like
No, she
go
totally rants.
Like I could see, yeah, I could see her calling Jen for like something stupid, and she's like in the middle of something important, like scamming people out of millions of dollars. That's takes a lot of attention. So she's like, can you talk to her while I, turn this money out over here?
We
Like,
also find out that Monica, who I guess the way she explained it was she filled in for Jen's other assistant that left or didn't stay. And in that time, I guess Jen was like, I guess trying to get her to come
bring
join
her
the dark
into
side, because she's like, you want to be rich, you want to make $600,000, you got to put your name in all these things. And then coincidentally, Monica was a witness for the government in the case against Jen Shaw based on that, because she apparently has a friend in Secret Service that told her a couple months before Jen was arrested to like get the hell away from her.
Good for her. She had that objective opinion before she got too far into it. She could have easily been scammed into it herself too. I mean, she seems like a bright woman, but you're filling in as a assistant for this,
but you're
person,
also
like,
you could be playing off someone's like situation, like she might need that money, so she'd be hungry for it, kind of thing. And that seems to be what Jen did with.
Because that's what Lisa tried to insinuate. She was like, "Oh, she looks so different. The last time I saw her, she's blonde. She didn't have all that, like her boobs, like like."
I think Lisa was pointing out that like, oh, you're a housewife now. I get it. Like you
showed. She was a great pick. Great.
She was.
So
I think perfect person to connect the ladies to for being new. She has connections. Whether.
Yeah, I mean, I have most of my note is about Monica. I'm a huge fan of hers. I think that I haven't taken to her as much, or I haven't taken to her as much as I have to any other housewife since Dr. Nicole came into my life. And that's big because I don't really like any of them, frankly.
That is true.
Especially the ones you like. I hate. Can't stand them. I like the the ones that you can overlook, because I think there's a lot. Not that Nicole's
She's not
overlookable, but I'm
overlookable.
saying she's not.
Right, she's
She's
not.
no Teresa,
No,
Nene,
no, 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 I
Kyle,
know.
Rinna, right?
Totally.
She's just trying to live her
She's just
damn
doing her
life, and
job.
she's just doing her job because she has a job. But before we go on that, I just do need to say, when you were talking about Angie's looks and stuff, as soon as she sat down and took off those like purple or pink fluorescent see-through sunglasses, just the way of her like her hair, and she was like sucking her cheeks in, she was giving me such Cher vibes,
Yeah,
because she was also just speaking with that like
she's
sometimes
got
how
a
it's
deeper
forced,
voice.
yeah, deeper voice. She's like, ooh, ooh, and she was just doing a lot of like,
Being very, I mean, I
mm.
see it because Greek women do a lot of what she was doing at the table when they don't want to get involved in something and they're like,
I don't
I
know.
don't know. Yeah, it's a lot of that. So I feel like
But Lisa
that's
screamed
interesting.
Opa when she came.
But that is why I think this will be interesting because clearly from I don't know why they made them introduce each other. Lisa and Monica knew each other. They had talked in passing,
Well,
and
they
whether
just
Lisa
talked.
realizes or not, she was on the
Yeah.
phone a lot of the time. She thought she was on the phone with Jen. I think that obviously we know there's going to be issues between Monica and Lisa, but
Why?
well,
What do you
because
think?
clearly Monica, there's something there. I don't know what it is. Maybe because she said this about the other lady.
Because
She said
she's
this
the
about Heather.
phone collector. Just in her first like 3 minutes of interview, she told us how Jen Shaw tried to get her to commit fraud by like falsifying her professional background.
Yes.
That she couldn't be bothered to talk to Lisa on the phone just about regular stuff, even though they were like friends, and she had to like just placate her. She would put the phone down and go take a shit and come back, and she was still talking. She also then later on went to say, for the record, Jen never said anything nice about Heather. Um,
I can believe that.
and then the whole thing about how she like was, a witness in
No, she gave us a lot.
whatever. I was like, okay,
She gave
okay,
us a lot.
Sheree of Salt Lake, like
But I will say this:
phone
I hope
collector.
that you have enough in your vault to last you a season, my dear. Because
I
these
think
people
she
that have,
does.
I do too. But I sometimes get worried when they spill too much in episode 1, 2, because then after that, it's like, oh, that's it.
She's only told us about her connection with this group just through the short time that she was with Jen. But it sounds like this girl has
Totally.
been, hanging around the rafters
She knows
of
that.
the
Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
the upper echelon crew of Salt Lake. So
And a lot of you guys, my Salt Lake City crew out there that live in Utah, have told me time and time again that it is a very, very small town, and I
of
believe
course.
you. So I 100% believe that a lot of these ladies are intertwined in some way, shape, or form. So that is good because we do want the natural connections for the show. From here,
I do want to know, well, speaking to that to like in her vault and whatever,
yeah,
I do need to know, and I think this speaks to your point where I just think she has other stuff to talk about, like when she was talking about her marriage.
yeah, there's
And she
stuff
said,
there.
I found myself to be in an entanglement, but then went on to just talk about how she did the thing where she divorced her husband, married him, and is getting divorced. I want to know what that entanglement is. I mean, I can probably think of some things, and I was getting a little bit of like Ashley Darby, Michael situation.
Mm,
Was that his name? Michael? Yeah.
Michael Darby, yeah.
Yeah. Where like
Mm-hmm.
they were bringing other people into the
And somebody got
bedroom and like,
attached or
yeah, whatever. I mean, that's what I mean, entanglement, but like, I don't know, you divorced him, got married, and you're divorced, so maybe it's not. But I want to know what that is.
yeah, no, I think she does
Glossed right over that,
obviously.
real nice too.
I think she, yeah,
I like
I
that
think
dress too.
they are gonna. She looked great, by the way. I think she looks great with blonde hair. I mean, we only saw one picture. I don't think she looks that much different. She didn't get work done by any means.
I mean, that
It's not
picture, she
like
just looked younger, which she was.
she was
Like,
taking a selfie in her car. It's not like
I just saw a much younger person. I didn't see somebody that was trying to be blonde, and now somebody that's trying to be brown.
I mean, I do think she's got a lot on her plate with these women. She's stepping into something that maybe she thinks she understands, but I think she's in for a real treat with some of them. Like with Meredith, specifically, and like Lisa. I think Meredith and Lisa, we see them kind of getting to a place where it seems like they're gonna get on and be good again, which is good because I need both of them to be good. Because they're like the moms of the show to me.
Well, they're twins.
Ish. Meredith and Lisa. I mean, yeah, in some ways they are. I guess that's why they are friends, because I mean they're not the same, but they are.
I mean, aesthetically, they're not the
Aesthetically,
same person. I'm
no,
just
but
saying
well, I feel like Lisa has a little more edge than Meredith does. Meredith's a little bit more, I like her. She's chill and laid back, but I feel like Lisa has a little bit more of like,
well, Meredith has a drier edge, and Lisa
yeah.
has more of a like. Spunky isn't the right word. Just more of an edgy edge.
She's from the New York streets too, so she has that.
Isn't Meredith too? Is Meredith from New York?
Possibly.
I don't know.
Anyways. Well, speaking of Meredith, we get reintroduced to someone who was absent last season. And that is Miss Mary Cosby. I know you're not excited about this return, Jeff, but we collectively have decided out here that Mary is needed for the show. Unfortunately, for the ones that don't like her, she is a friend of, so she's not holding a snowflake.
Oh, she is a friend of?
She's just a friend of the show, a friend of Meredith, which is why we have Meredith reintroducing her. But it seems like Mary's role in the group will be calling people's behaviors out and putting them on, like she was doing before. But I think she's also going to add some of that humor back into what seems to be a drama-filled religious season, because all the music seems to be really like super duper religious, which I love. It's very dramatic. But yeah, so we see like Mary.
The last scene of The Godfather.
That's exactly what
killing people while the baby's getting.
While Mary watches from inside the house. Where do we go from here? So Mary, we caught up with Mary.
She said made any sense. Can we just say that?
Mary?
Yeah, nothing.
Oh, about her son, you mean?
Nothing in the entire episode. Yes. Her son potentially being Mary, but she hasn't had time to ask him.
Or she said he had a girlfriend, but doesn't know if some people
he has a girlfriend, but he is saying that it's his wife, and she just hasn't had time to ask him.
Even though he lives in the same house.
For the producers, yeah.
And then Robert Sr. was in Vegas for 6 months.
Yeah. Your pastor husband that runs a huge business church and is supposed to be for 6 months. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that need to be healed in Vegas, but 6 months?
You have a church out there too?
But she didn't even say, if she was opening a church, she would have said that. But she didn't say what it was for, which I assume it wasn't for their primary endeavor. No. So what is this religious man staying in Vegas without his wife for 6 months? And Mary seemed to just kind of when the producer's like, did you like that? Or how was that for her? And she was like, I mean, it was what I don't know. She probably said something.
She was fine with it.
Like, it was different. It was something.
Yeah. And I don't think I think
that doesn't make any sense. And then she referred to Jen as the big elephant in the room, which is not the correct usage of that phrase. It's not the big elephants, the like elephant in the room or the big pink elephant in the room but she wasn't the elephant in the room. She wasn't the thing that like nobody wanted to talk about that was right there. I mean, people were talking about it. Like,
but after she got busted with Mary's point, because Mary had mentioned that like there's always been shady stuff going on there, and that's why I think she called Heather out at the end too when Heather tried to play the whole I think that was just projection from other people. She's like, no. You guys had an actual relationship, and that's something I think.
So people didn't want to call out the fact that Heather was seemingly hypocritical by being friends with a.
Yeah, well, because it's like, well, you were friends with her, but now she's going to jail. Now you're trying to pretend like, oh no, it is what it is. No, you had a relationship with her. You guys had conversations.
Backpedaling. Like, that's not the I think of the elephant in the room as like some big awkward thing that no one wants to say anything about and was pretending is not there. Like as if like when the cops almost stormed onto that bus to arrest her and everyone's just sitting there drinking their mimosas being like, so anyways, want to get lunch next? Like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's not.
What else?
And then just
this episode, there's
I didn't really understand the snowball fight event at all. Like even when it came back from commercial and it showed her like setting that event. I don't even know what that event was for, just aside from like we're filming now and we need an event to bring everyone together. But like I didn't really get it. I didn't get why her business partner was there. I didn't get why she had all these random fake friends show up too. I didn't really get the snowball fight. I don't think that's like working out your aggression. I don't think of like throwing snowballs at each other from 2 feet away. Like when you do one of those, that's like one of those like axe throwing or like the screaming or the like when you break shit or whatever. Like
Yeah.
throwing like bespoke made snowballs at a luxury ski resort. Like I didn't get it.
I think the whole point of that was Heather wanted to have a fresh start and have all the ladies have fresh starts, and I get it. I don't really understand the snowball part other than the fact that it was funny to have the slow-mo at the end with the religious music playing and how dramatic it was getting, and watching Mary watch from the inside because Mary wasn't gonna go participate in that.
She just seemed uninterested in being there overall.
But right
Even
before
the snowball fight,
right before the
even people are
snowball
complimenting
fight,
they're complimenting what she was wearing. She's like, thanks.
she's not impressed. I think because she has so much of it, it's not like those things don't impress her. So when people compliment her, she's just like, okay, I don't. But before the snow fight, we have a couple moments that are hilarious where we have so Meredith in spirit when Heather makes her little speech about let's just que sera, sera. Let's just have new beginnings. Meredith takes the moment to extend an olive branch to Lisa, pull her aside and say, let's set ourselves up for success and let's go on a hike and let's have a conversation and let's be good.
But she's the one that's not good with Lisa.
Right, which I think is in that respect, I think it's good that Meredith then made the offer because she was the one that was still holding on to the resentment. And it's nice to see that they will move, hopefully, in a more positive direction. And then from there, Meredith decides it's now time to go take a piss out of Whitney for the things that she said about her bathtub, water, and all the above.
Don't come for my bathtub.
In the press. Also, we lead into this because Heather brings up ketamine being legal, which then sets off this whole thing because now Meredith.
I did not think that's what she was talking. I thought she was just talking about weed. Now ketamine's legal now. Oh, right, like ketamine therapy.
Yeah. So she
not the ketamine that they were doing.
No, and so that sparks the conversation where Meredith's like, "Well, you're the one that started the rumor, Whitney, about the ketamine." She's like,
"That was
I didn't think
so
that."
Awkward. That whole situation.
The interaction between Meredith and Whitney.
The whole scene, yeah.
So it goes from there, and then we go to the bathtub comments, in which Whitney is being Whitney. She's like, look, Meredith, I was being shady. I was just being funny. I don't actually think you're gross. I actually think you have a very clean bathtub. I was not insinuating that. Meredith is not having it. She's like, well, did I ask you if you got a bacteria infection in your vagina when you guys painted each other? You know, when Meredith's leaning over like this.
No, but my husband lost his job over it. So I think all things considered, like someone calls your bathtub dirty versus like my husband lost his career. I think we're throwing a pity party. Like she gets the favor, like I don't.
Also, guys, if you go on a reality show with your man, woman, don't do shit like that. Don't do bathtub scenes and don't paint each other on camera. It's never gonna.
Well, there goes season 1 of the District of Georgio, but
I'm not doing those scenes. It's not. So we already talked about the snowball fight. We obviously know we're in for a very, very intense season. I would rate this episode a solid 8.5 out of 10. What about you?
I guess, yeah. I mean,
8.5?
8, 9, I don't know. When you say 8.5, that says something.
Well, it's
you were left with something. So be positive. Why can't we start with a bang and just get worse?
I'm not going to give a 10 out of 10. It's not 10 out of 10. 8.5. You said 8 or 9. So
yeah, 8 or 9.
We're going to average out at 8.5 out of 10 for the both of us.
Yeah, I guess. No, it was great. I was very happy. I guess more so, I always I was happy when they bring a new person on and it's like well received and it's just kind of like chill and normal. It's not this person that's like trying to like flaunt their whole life in front of you in the first 10 minutes, like every time they bring someone new on New Jersey, because it's so flaunty in Jersey. It's not as flaunty
Jersey.
in South Lake, right? Salt Lake. So, and I think that was a really good find because yes, like a lot of times the new people are like connected or acquainted to the cast, but this girl is really connected. I mean,
she is.
knows everything about Jen Shaw and a lot of stuff about people that Jen Shaw interacted with, i.e., all these ladies. So, like, I think that was a good pick.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like they went to like their like second string and pulled somebody off the bench. Like, if you thought about like, you know, let's say they had like 20 women in that group for like, you know, the first cut when they were trying to figure it. It's almost like she was already related and interconnected. So like I thought it was a good pick.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a great. I think that's why I feel this season's going to be good because I think we're not dealing with Jen Shaw's
Are they
antics.
the only new ones? Is it just Angie and Monica?
I mean, Monica's technically the newbie. Angie's not technically new. She's
still a friend.
No. Angie got her snowflake, but I'm saying she's not new because we know her from being a friend.
But she was a friend last
year. She was a friend of last year. But I think the cast is great. They all representation. Yeah, and they have some connections naturally. So I don't feel like this is a produced situation. Like sometimes in the past, I felt with this franchise, it felt produced because I think a lot of the antics around Jen were so focused around Jen that the rest of the ladies had to fall back and come up with ridiculous things in order to get camera time. Now I don't think that's the case because we don't have Jen taking up all this unnecessary space with her crap, that we can allow for everyone to kind of come to the table with something. So that's exciting to me.
But speaking of being produced, I think that Heather is either overproducing herself or they're overproducing her and she's just saying yes
she's
to everything.
Producing herself.
Well, either way, her whole situation just for this first episode, way overproduced, Heather. I don't know who's producing it. Like I said, maybe she's producing herself, but just too much. Her transformative year, it's been a transformative year. Ow.
Jeff's not buying it, Heather. Well, guys.
She had a new business venture. It's great.
I mean, she just opened up her second location. She's on the New York Times bestseller. She's feeling herself.
Okay, great.
She's a bad Mormon. The baddest Mormon of Utah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. That was our recap for Salt Lake City. And before I head out of this episode, you know, I have to give you guys a few reminders. If you're not following me on TikTok, what are you doing? I go there first to give all the recaps, all the updates on all your Bravo Lebs. So make sure you're following me at Georgio Says. And if you're a little bit nosy and you want to find out what I'm doing in my personal time, you can head on over to Instagram. I share a little bit more personal stuff on there, and that's at Georgio Says. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, you're missing out, but you can still subscribe and hit the notification button so you don't miss when I upload. If you're watching, hello, you can watch me on Spotify or my YouTube channel. And if you're listening, thank you so much. And if you feel obliged and you love this podcast, you can give me a nice review on whatever platform you are listening to this podcast. Thank you to my special guest, Jeff, for stopping by. We might have to make this a weekly thing for Salt Lake City. And I will definitely be talking to you guys on the next episode, which will be tomorrow. Bye, guys.